Hello, and welcome to this week's Coronation Street Spoilers. Week commencing the 20th of August 2023. Telling Tyrone that she is going to the Citizens Advice Bureau to start looking for somewhere to stay, Cassie actually meets up with her drug dealer Dean, who turns nasty as she owes him money. Seeing Cassie fall to the ground in pain, Michael insists on taking her to hospital. Dean follows them, and when Ronnie arrives at A&E, he sees Michael in the middle of a row with Dean. When Dean punches Michael, Ronnie reckons they should call the police, but Cassie asks them not to. When Michael tells Ronnie that this sort of thing happens all the time to Aggie, Ronnie is shocked and uses the information to get Ed to go in on the deal so Aggie can retire. Will Ed agree? Meanwhile, Todd finds a card that George had thrown in the bin from Troy at Rest Easy, with a message asking Todd to have a chat about his future career. Todd confides in Glenda, who says he should ask for a pay rise. When George is evasive, Todd calls Troy and arranges a meeting. Troy offers Todd a job at Rest Easy on a salary of £30,000 plus bonus. Todd is impressed and promises to think about it. Will he accept? Elsewhere, Peter confides in Ryan how he owes Rufus' wife £15,000 and could really do with some rent from him. Ryan promises to do what he can to help. When Ryan reveals that he's off to the bistro to ask for some shifts so that he can pay his way, Carla is annoyed to realize that Peter has been putting pressure on him. Ryan receives a message from Liv, one of his followers. He messages back and enjoys the banter until she asks him to drop his keks and send him a pic. What will he do? Also today, in the flower shop flat, Billy notices Paul struggling with his right leg. Paul does his best to cover, secretly dismayed at his deterioration. Billy returns home with a walking aid for Paul. When Paul says that the walking aid will take some getting used to, Billy suggests a wheelchair instead, but Paul's horrified at the very idea. Frustrated that he can't pay his way, Ryan tells Sean and Daisy that he is hoping to start making money from his socials. They warn him that the only way to do that is by selling seriously dodgy pics. Ryan arranges to meet Daisy for a drink later, but when he discovers that Daniel and Daisy are moving in together, he doesn't turn up for the drink. Daisy calls to check up on him at the flat, but he assures her he is fine. Daisy's pleased, but as she heads off, Ryan's facade slips. Struggling with his emotions, Ryan goes onto the Ovid's website and creates a new profile and posts his first video. He receives a message from Liv describing him as awesome and demanding more. Ryan checks his account to see that he has new subscribers and the money is flowing in. Ryan lies to Carla and Peter that he's now officially an online fitness influencer. He'll soon be raking it in and able to pay his own way. Meanwhile, Billy presents Paul with an engagement ring for his birthday. Paul's overcome with emotion, but when he turns up at the bistro for the joint party with Gemma, he is overwhelmed to see so many people. Gemma suggests Paul take Bryn outside for a run around at the park. When Bryn runs off, Paul tries to go after him but crashes to the ground. Back at the flat, Paul says that he can't manage the stairs. Billy enlists Todd's help and between them they carry Paul up to the flat. Paul feels utterly humiliated. Paul reluctantly says it might be time for a stair lift. Elsewhere, over breakfast, George makes it clear to Todd that their working relationship is over. Eileen urges George to bury the hatchet with Todd and pay him a decent salary. George tells Eileen that he needs a replacement for Todd, who's accepted the job at Rest Easy, and he thinks she would be terrific. Also today, Ronnie tells Debbie that he took her advice and bought the Newton and Ridley shares with the money from the Tavern News project. When Dee Dee offers to help out with the admin and the accounts for their new business, Ed's delighted whilst Ronnie masks his panic. Finally, at number 9, Tyrone introduces Cassie to Kevin and Abby and explains that Abby is a recovering drug addict too. Cassie is furious. Paul gets into the spirit of pride and is up for fancy dress. But he is dismayed when his occupational therapist agrees with Billy that it is probably time for a wheelchair. Paul is angry at Billy, and when David reveals that he found Paul knocking back vodka on a bench, Billy blames himself and explains that they had an argument. Billy watches as 3 drag queens help Paul out of a taxi and carry him into the Rovers. As everyone rallies round him, Paul gets upset that it will be his last ever Pride. Meanwhile, Ryan receives a message from a man called Guy offering to pay for some private photos. Ryan takes his top off and, carefully hiding his scars, uploads some pictures. But what will he do when Guy offers him £100 for a video of his full body and face? Ryan reads a derogatory comment online about his scarred body. Carla urges him to ignore it, but clearly fueled by testosterone, Ryan loses his temper. Hurling a glass across the room, Ryan rages at Carla. Elsewhere, as Todd prepares for his first rest-easy wake, he's shocked when Troy urges him to cash in on the family's grief by flogging him a more expensive urn. When George sets off to meet a client about a wake, Mary offers to go with him and take notes. George is dubious but grateful for her help. In the Rovers, Todd makes out that he's enjoying his new job whilst George pretends that Mary's a natural at undertaking, both of them secretly wishing they still worked together. Also today, at number 8, Lily opens her birthday presents whilst David and Shona congratulate Max on passing his GCSEs. Stephen calls at the Rovers and invites Jenny to join him at a wine tasting event later, but she is less than pleased when she ends up at Lily's birthday party. Can Stephen win her round? Finally, in the cafe, a stressed Carla tells Sarah that they need to find another European distributor. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss next week's Coronation Street Spoilers.